Imagine a time before modern forensics, when crimes could go unnoticed for years. A time when trust was blind and suspicion rarely turned toward women. This was the Victorian era, a time when Mary Ann Cotton emerged as one of Britain's most chilling and cunning serial killers. Her story is a dark and twisted tale of greed, betrayal, and death. Early life, poverty, and struggle. Mary Ann Cotton was born in 1832 in County Durham, England. Her early life was marked by hardship and poverty. The daughter of a miner, she grew up in the industrial heartlands of Victorian Britain, a world of coal smoke, crowded tenements, and limited opportunities for women. Her father's death in a mining accident left the family destitute, forcing Mary Ann to seek work as a domestic servant at just 16 years old. It was here that she learned to navigate the rigid class system and, some believe, began to harbor resentment toward the hand life had dealt her. A string of marriages and deaths. By 1852, Mary Ann married her first husband, William Mowbray, and began what appeared to be a normal life. The couple had several children, but tragedy struck repeatedly. Many of them died young, reportedly from gastric fever, a common diagnosis at the time. But there was a darker truth. Mary Ann had discovered the lucrative potential of life insurance policies. By the mid-19th century, industrial insurance allowed working-class families to insure themselves and their children, often for small payouts, but enough to tempt someone with a cold heart and financial desperation. The weapon of choice. Arsenic. In the Victorian era, arsenic was a common household substance. It was used in rat poison, dyes, and even cosmetics. Its accessibility made it the perfect weapon for Mary Ann Cotton, whose crimes depended on secrecy and deception. Arsenic was colorless, tasteless, and dissolved easily in food and drink. Its effects mimicked common illnesses of the time, such as typhus or gastric fever, both of which were rampant in industrial Britain. Victims would experience vomiting, diarrhea, and intense abdominal pain before succumbing, symptoms doctors often misattributed to natural causes. Mary Ann exploited these medical blind spots masterfully. With no advanced forensic toxicology available, her victims' deaths were rarely questioned. Over 20 years, she perfected her methods, leaving behind a trail of death that went unnoticed for far too long. Her victims ranged from her own children to her husbands, lovers, and even acquaintances. It's believed she would feign compassion while nursing them, all the while administering arsenic in small doses to avoid suspicion. This allowed her to escalate the poisoning over days or weeks, making the deaths seem even more natural. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of Mary Ann's crimes was her cold detachment. She didn't kill out of passion or anger. For her, it was purely transactional. Every death was a step closer to financial gain, a grim calculation that left even investigators horrified. But arsenic had its limitations. Inexperienced killers often misjudged dosages, leading to obvious signs of poisoning. Mary Ann, however, was meticulous, understanding just how much to administer to avoid arousing suspicion. Her calm demeanor and ability to mask her actions made her a true predator of her time. Despite her cunning, the cracks in her facade would eventually appear. With every death, Mary Ann became bolder, and her growing confidence would ultimately lead to mistakes she couldn't undo. The beginning of the end. In 1872, Mary Ann married Charles Cotton, her fourth husband. But soon after, Charles and his young son became ill and died under suspicious circumstances. This time, Mary Ann's pattern of tragedy raised alarm. The local doctor, suspicious of the frequent deaths surrounding Mary Ann, conducted tests on the child's body. Traces of arsenic were found, and Mary Ann Cotton was arrested. The trial of Mary Ann Cotton. Mary Ann's trial became a media sensation. Newspapers called her the Black Widow, and her calm demeanor in court shocked the public. Prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence, including the arsenic poisoning of her stepson, which sealed her fate. After a dramatic trial, Mary Ann was found guilty and sentenced to death. On March 24, 1873, she was hanged at Durham Prison. Her final words reportedly were, "I am quite innocent." Legacy of Mary Ann Cotton. Mary Ann Cotton's case was a wake-up call for Victorian society. It highlighted the dangers of industrial insurance, and the lack of scientific methods to detect poison. Her crimes also shattered the stereotype that women could not be capable of such calculated and cold-blooded acts. Today, her story serves as a chilling reminder of the hidden dangers lurking in history's shadows. Mary Ann Cotton wasn't just a killer. She was a manipulator who exploited trust, societal norms, and human vulnerability. What drove Mary Ann Cotton to commit such heinous acts? While psychology was in its infancy during the Victorian era, modern experts speculate on her possible motivations and mindset. Some believe her actions were driven purely by greed, a cold calculation to escape poverty and secure financial stability. The repeated life insurance payouts point to a meticulous and opportunistic killer who knew how to manipulate circumstances for her benefit. Others suggest deeper psychological factors, such as a possible personality disorder or trauma from her early life. Mary Ann Cotton's legacy is not just one of horror, but also of important lessons for society. Her crimes remind us of the critical need for vigilance and accountability. Communities must ask questions, even of those who seem beyond suspicion. The advancements in forensic science sparked by her case underline the power of science to uncover the truth. But equally, her story highlights the importance of addressing systemic issues: poverty, inequality, and the unchecked exploitation of vulnerable populations. While we may never fully understand what drove Mary Ann Cotton, her story ensures that future generations remain vigilant against those who would exploit trust for their own gain. The story of Mary Ann Cotton isn't just a tale of darkness. It's a reminder of the strength of truth and resilience in uncovering it. Her chilling crimes shocked Victorian society, but they also spurred advancements that protect us today. From forensic science to our understanding of human psychology, her case changed the way we look at justice. But her story leaves us with questions. How many other Mary Ann Cottons went unnoticed in history? And how many more might slip through the cracks in the present day? It's a chilling thought, but also a call to action for vigilance, awareness, and compassion. History is filled with stories that challenge what we think we know about humanity. If you're as fascinated by these untold tales as we are, join us. Subscribe to the channel, share this video, and let us know in the comments. What other forgotten figures of history should we uncover next? Together, we can explore the shadows of the past and bring light to the stories that matter.